Hey guys, it's Christine. How you guys doing? So this week we are going to do a watercolor painting of a jack-o'-lantern, kind of out in a field with a moon and a tree and a little kitty cat. We're going to use our pencil and eraser, a Sharpie, and our watercolors. If you have a thicker watercolor brush, let me see, a thicker watercolor brush, kind of like this one here, like 1 inch big or 3/4 of an inch big, that would be helpful, but it's not necessary. So go gather your supplies and come back and we'll get started, okay? Okay guys, so this is our painting that we're going to work on today. And I went a little overboard on mine. I did lots of shading and all kinds of fun colors, and you can most certainly play around with yours to try to make it look more like mine. But mine's a little advanced, so don't feel, discouraged if yours doesn't look like mine. We can just use base colors, and then if you want to spend more time or have more time to spend, you could go in and play around with it a little bit more, but don't worry about that, okay? Right now we're just going to get started on our drawing, and we will worry about the coloring later, okay? Now, as we're drawing, I want to draw lightly first, because remember, we're just sort of sketching our outlines in, and we might be erasing. So here I've got my piece of paper, and I'm going to draw my my hill kind of in the back. Okay, so I'm going to go kind of like that. And then I'm going to draw a circle that's going to go a little bit above that line. And that's going to be for our pumpkin. And let me see, I'm going to get my moon over here. Actually, I feel like I want that to be a little bit higher, but something like that. Okay. And then I'm going to draw in a little bit of a vine over here. And a little bit of a vine over here. Now this vine right here is going to kind of split off into a V. So I'm going to kind of do that. And then I'm going to leave this section right here just alone for the moment, okay? Let me show you the original again. So see, we're kind of making this, it's almost like a V, sideways V, where the vine splits off. But I'm going to ignore this little pumpkin for the moment, and I'm going to work on this leaf a little bit, okay? So I'm going to start about right here. And these leaves are really kind of basically heart-shaped. But for this, I'm going to make like a C. I'm going to go up a little bit and then back down. And on this other side, I'm just going to kind of have a wavy line that goes off like that. Because even though these leaves are kind of heart-shaped, they're usually a little bit crinkly, which makes them look a little bit different. Okay, now I'm going to put my little veins into my leaf. So I'm going to start up here at that point and just have some lines that come like this on both sides. Okay, now from those, I'm just going to have little branches come off. You don't have to get too detailed. I might be doing a little bit too much. Something like that. Okay. And now back here, I'm going to go in and put that other little pumpkin. And that's just kind of a smaller circle. It's a little bit further back in our field. So I'm just going to do that for now. Okay. So overall, this is what your image should look like. We should have the big pumpkin, the ground line in the back, a little bit of a vine, a moon. Actually, I am going to put a tree back here. I suppose we could do that now. So for our tree, I'm going to draw 2 lines that go up. And then my 2 lines are going to, sorry about that, my 2 lines are going to branch out kind of like a Y. Okay. Then I'm going to do the inner part like that. Go back up. And then come down like that. And go back up over here. Okay, that's going to be my basic structure for my tree. And then I'm going to do lots of branches off of it. Almost like what we just did for our leaf. Okay, so I'm just doing lots of these little branches. You can have as many or as few as you want. And for this tree, I'm going to pretend that all of its leaves have fallen already. So they're already gone. So this is just branches on this tree. Okay. Now, back here with our pumpkin. Let's go back to our original. Okay, here's our original. I want to do these curves as well as these lines that kind of come down. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our circle. We're going to start in the middle and just make a little bump above our circle, and then kind of come down like that and do another little bump at the bottom. Okay, and this is going to be in the center. Now from there, we're going to start up here, branch off a little bit, come down, and then connect it over there. Now we want to stay basically within the shape of this circle. So each time that we do this, it's going to get shorter. It's going to start lower and end higher. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to start at our center point again, curve over and around like that. It doesn't really matter how many you do, just so that it looks right. Okay, and now I'm going to give this guy a little stem up here. I like big, funky looking stems, so I'm just going to kind of go like that. Then give him another little thing. I'm going to kind of cut it off like right there, like pretend like that's where somebody took scissors and cut it off of the vine. But I'm going to keep these little kind of like tendrily things going. I don't know, something like that. Yours does not need to look exactly like mine. Just have fun with it. Make little curly cues wherever you feel like it. Okay. Now let's go do this other little pumpkin now. And this one's a little bit further back. So I'm not going to worry quite as much about the bumps. If you want to, you can do the bumps, but you don't have to. I'm going to basically just do the curved lines. And I'm going to do them within the circle. Like that. Okay. Something like that. And now this one's still going to be on the vine. Our big pumpkin was already cut off, but this one's still on the vine. So I'm going to attach this one down here and connect it to the vine that we drew earlier. And you might have to change the position of that vine a little bit. That's okay. Let me see. Let me get my eraser out and erase some of these lines here. Okay. So now our little kitty cat. This is what our kitty cat looks like on our original. So we're just going to do a head and a tail. Okay, now our head is going to come off. Actually, we're going to start with his little ears. His little head's kind of poking out the side. So we're going to do a little triangle ear, a little bit of a head, another triangle ear, and then we're just going to give him kind of like a backward circle for a cheek. And the same thing kind of over here, like on this side a backward C, and then over here just like a little bit of a curved line. His eyes are going to be 2 circles. And if you have room for his nose, he has a little upside down triangle nose. I made mine a little smaller there than my original. And we're going to have 3 whiskers come out of him. And then a little tail over here is really just a C shape. It's going to go up like that, like a C. And then we're going to do the second part like that, and then have it curve around. Okay, and then these lines in here, we can erase them if we want to. Erase the vine and the pumpkin out of that tail. Okay. Okay, so we are almost done with our base drawing. We've got that going on. I just want to throw in a couple more leaves. So I'm going to have a little stem. Now, you can really make these as hearts if you want to. Maybe kind of like that. Something like that. I think it might be a little bit easier than trying to rough out the whole shape, but something kind of like that. And then maybe one more up here. This one's sideways, so it's a little tricky. You can turn your paper to make it a little bit easier. Okay, so there's my three leaves. And then I'm gonna put my vines in them again, like my first one. Or, I'm sorry, my veins, not my vines. Now in my foreground, just because I feel like it, I'm going to put a little tiny bit of a hill here. You can do that or not. It doesn't really matter. I just thought that I'd add something down there in that bottom left-hand corner. Okay. Maybe a few little curly cues from the vine. Wherever you think it needs something. Okay. Maybe this needs a couple more little things. I don't know. Something like that. Okay. Now we need to draw the face on our jack-o'-lantern, and that will be the end of our drawing. Okay. So here's our pumpkin. We want to have 2 slanted oval eyes. There. One there. And then for his nostrils, we're going to put them both in this little center piece. Try to make sure that your eyes are centered too. Remember, this is our center oval. So try to kind of keep them equal distance from the center. Okay. And now our smile is going to be like this. And then we're just going to put some little like boxes on it. Now, if you guys want to have a different style jack-o'-lantern, I am completely okay with that. I want you guys to use your imaginations a little bit on these projects. I know some of you have a lot of fun just adding in other details and letting your imaginations go free, and I am completely okay with that. Okay, so there's my face that I made. If you want to do a different type of face, that's fine. But now I'm going to erase all these lines. So I'm going to erase the pumpkin lines outside of my eyes, or my pumpkin lines from inside of my eyes. I'm going to do the same thing on my smile. There. And sometimes you might have to go back in and just kind of touch it up a little bit where you erased. That's fine. Something like that. Okay. I also want to go in and erase my background, my my ground line from inside of my pumpkin. Just kind of clean it up a little bit. Any kind of extra lines that you see that don't belong there, You can go ahead and erase those. Okay, so there we are. There's our drawing. Oh, I just remembered one more detail. I also, if you're gonna do this type of eyes, do this little kind of curved line along the edge of your eyes here on the inside. And that kind of shows like the depth of the pumpkin. When you carve out a pumpkin, you know, a pumpkin isn't like skinny like this. When you carve it, the pumpkin's flesh is usually like this thick or so. So this shows like the depth of the pumpkin flesh, okay? It's just a little bit of a detail to make it look a little bit more realistic. Okay, so there we go. Now, the very next step is to get out your Sharpie, and we are going to Sharpie over all of our pencil lines. Okay, I'm not gonna film me doing this whole thing because you guys know how to do this. I've got my Sharpie. I'm just going to go over all of my pencil marks, okay? And you guys don't need to take a lot of time doing this. You've already planned out where all of your lines go. So you can just color this in quickly. Go ahead and pause the video. Do your lines. And then also, here, I'll show you this part. I do want you to color in your kitty cat. So start by outlining him, including the nose and the eyes, and then color in all the rest of him with your black Sharpie. Okay, so he's got his little face sticking out there. Do his little whiskers and do his little tail. Okay, and we'll go back in when we're done and erase any extra pencil lines that are still showing. So if when you're doing your Sharpie, you're not right on top of the pencil, that is completely fine. Don't stress out about it. Okay, so color in your little kitty. You can also color in your tree. So color in your whole tree like I have on my sample here to make it black. Okay, and then other than that, just outline all of your pencil. So I'm gonna pause this and I'll be back when I'm done outlining. Okay guys, so hopefully you have gone over all of your pencil marks with your Sharpie and colored in both your little cat over here and your tree. And now we are going to move on to the watercolor stage. Okay, so I've got my watercolors, I've got a couple brushes, a cup of water, and also a paper towel. Okay. Now I'm left-handed, so my supplies, my painting supplies are going to be on the left-hand side. If you're right-handed, put them over here on your right-hand side, okay? I am going to start with my sky. Now this is a nighttime picture. Here's the original again. It's a nighttime picture, but we still have a good amount of color in there. So I'm going to pick, I don't know, maybe like kind of a medium purpley color. And I'm just going to paint this sky in. My paper's moving on me. I'm going to go around my pumpkin. And if you guys don't have a larger brush, that's fine. A smaller one is perfectly fine for this. I want my paint to be pretty wet here. And I'm going to try to make it a little bit lighter as we go towards the moon. So the side by the tree is the darkest, and then as we go towards the moon, it gets lighter. Now, and if you're having problems with that, which actually it looks like I might be having problems getting it to go lighter, that's okay. What you can do, like I'm talking about like right here, what you can do is just throw some, I'm just going to get some clean water and I'm going to put that over top and just let it do its thing. It'll blend it all on its own. Okay, so that's our background. now I'm going to do the ground. I'm going to do that in just a regular green color. I'm going to actually choose this color green here. And I'm just going to go over all of our grassy areas. Actually, I'm making this pretty wet too. You know what? I can go over the vine as well. So I'm going to do all of my grass and my vine in kind of a light green color. I want to be careful not to touch my sky. If I need to, I can even leave like a little bit of an edge right there. Just for right now, because the sky is still wet, so I don't want those colors to blend together. Later on, it won't matter quite so much that I stay away from the sky, but right now, while the sky is wet, I don't want to get any extra paint near it. Okay. See, if it gets too dry, you start seeing the actual brush strokes. I don't want to see brush strokes. So I'm going to put some water on top of that. So that'll smooth out a little bit. And maybe a little bit more wet paint. Okay. So just a real general kind of a wash. Purpley blue or something like that in the sky. And green on the ground. Now we are going to, I'm going to use my smaller brush. I'm just using the one that came with my paint set, but a medium, smallish brush. And I'm going to start with my yellow, my lightest yellow that I have. And I'm going to do the inside of my jack-o'-lantern. So that means the eyes, the nostrils, and this yellow is actually pretty dark. Some of you might have a lighter yellow, and that actually would be better, but this is all I have at the moment, so I will use what I have. I'll do his mouth and get all of his little teeth in there. Okay, and then I'm also going to do the moon. Now for the moon, I'm going to get it wet first. And I'm going to try not to get too close to the edge, because again, I don't want it to blend too much into the sky. If it blends a little bit, that's okay. But I want to get my paper wet first. And then I'm going to add my yellow paint. Now, for effect, you could also add a tiny bit of like a light orange, if you wanted to, just like in a couple spots, just to give the moon some texture. Okay, and then what you can also do is take your paper towel and just kind of dab it a little bit. And that'll give it just a little bit of a texture. If it's too much texture, you can always add a little bit more water back over top of it to smooth it out. And it'll just kind of do its thing. Okay. Okay, next thing I'm doing now is my pumpkin. I'm going to pick a nice orange for my pumpkin. And I'm going to be careful to try not to go over top of the yellow that I already painted. See, the reason why I need to use the smaller brush for this is so that I can get into these tiny little places and not have to worry about my brush being too big to fit. We're almost done with the pumpkin. Again, if it starts getting too dry so that the paint doesn't spread on real easily, make sure that you add some more water. Okay, it should be nice and wet. Another thing, guys, is that don't overwork your paper too much. Watercolor paper can tend to tear a little bit. Like if you're like, I'm not going to do it, but like digging in real hard, like with your brush or like with the edge like that. Or if you go over the same spot too many times, the paper can tear a little bit. So try to be just a little bit gentle when you're doing this. And again, the water in your paint helps you to do that because it kind of does the work for you. You don't have to spread it around quite as much. Okay, so I did that pumpkin. Now I'm going to do my little pumpkin over here. Okay. Now I'm going to take a little bit of a, oh gee, let me see. I was going to say a brownish color, but honestly, my set doesn't have brown. If you have a brown, go in and use a brown for this inside of the eyes right here, like where the pumpkin flesh is. I'm just going to use this little bit of a yellowy orange color for mine, like that. Okay, now how about our stem? You can use a black or a brown, or you can just play and use a fun color. I'm going to use a dark, let's see, this is kind of like a dark bluish, grayish color. Now my sky is still a little bit wet, so my paint is going to bleed. I don't really want it to bleed into the sky. If it does, it's not a crisis, but what I'm going to do is just not paint too close to the edge, because it's probably going to kind of bleed there all on its own. So I'm just going to go kind of like that for right now. Okay, so that's what we got. Now I am going to paint. You know what I'm actually going to do? I'm going to put some color in the background on my grass. Now, if you guys just want to leave your grass just how it is and just have it plain green, that's perfectly fine. I just want to have fun. I've got all these different colors over here, and I've got, I don't know if you can see, I've got some kind of blue greens in here and some kind of bluish purples. And since it's nighttime, I don't know, I feel like the colors can be a little bit weird. We can kind of play around with them a little bit. And I just want to have some brighter color in there. So I'm just going to play around a little bit. As I do this, I'm going to be careful not to get it on my vine this time, because I want my vine to be separate from my grass. But I'm just going to pick up a little bit of paint. That's a little bit more than I had planned on right there. Sometimes that happens, and you know what? It's okay. I'm just going to let it do its thing. Maybe put some more over here. No, I do want to have a little bit of a moon glow, so I'm going to try to leave the space right under the moon open. I don't know. It's not the color I was thinking of, but it's kind of fun. So just play around with it. And you don't have to fill in the whole area, like right here. I just did like around the edges, just to give it a little bit of something. So you don't have to fill in the whole thing. It actually looks better if you have a little bit of variation in your color. Okay, so down here, just gonna throw some of this in. Where my shadows are, I'm gonna use a little bit of a purple, just because I think it's fun. Again, you don't have to do this. You could even fast forward all of this shadowing if you are kind of done or you're short on time. But I'm just kind of playing around. I'm putting purple, you know, if my moon is my light source, think about the moon is gonna shine around it and in front of it, and it's gonna get blocked. There's gonna be shadow behind our main objects. So I'm just kind of putting a little bit of that in here, just kind of having fun with it. Right now I'm rinsing off my brush because I think it has way too much purple on it. And I'm gonna dry it on my paper towel. And then I'm gonna come in and just kind of play around with this a little bit more. Maybe put a little bit of water over top of it because it's quite dark. And that way maybe it'll spread around a little bit. Okay, I'm just kind of playing with the color. Sometimes if you just put some plain water on it, you can make the colors blend into one another, which is kind of fun. It does the work all on its own. It just automatically blends. If you think you've really put on too much color, which I very well may have, you can also use a paper towel. Wet it and use a paper towel as a technique to blot off a little bit of the extra paint. Okay, I think that's okay though. Okay, now I'm going to go in and do this little tiny bit of a hill that I have here. I'm going to start off with some green, some nice strong green. And then I'm going to try to put a darker blue back up in here. And I'm not gonna mix it too much. I'm just gonna kind of let it do its thing. You know, I might even add some of this darker blue in here a little bit. Since my paper is wet, if I just dab it a little bit, it'll kind of blend on its own. Okay, so that's what I've got now. I'm going to pick up my smaller brush again and put a little bit of details in my pumpkin leaves. I'm going to use purple. It's kind of a shadow color. You can use a darker green or black or brown or blue. And I'm just kind of going like where some of the veins are, just sort of like a shadow. I'm not going to do the whole thing. Sort of like that. And I'm going to do that for all of them. Just a little bit of color. Actually, I'm also going to put a little bit underneath my vine here. Oh, I forgot about this little leaf. I know this isn't exactly realistic. With this painting, I'm just kind of having fun with different colors and making it playful. I think Halloween is nice and playful, and jack-o'-lanterns are also kind of fun and playful. So we're just having fun with this one. Okay. If you want to, you could put in a little bit of color, like a little bit of a shadow color. Here on your pumpkin, I'm just using a little tiny bit of purple to do a little bit of a shadow. Maybe I'll use a little bit more green on my vine here. Maybe on my leaves too. A little bit more green. I'm not going to go over top of my purple, but I'll go like next to it with my green. Okay. So that is basically your painting. I, being myself, want to keep playing, but you guys very well might be done. And if you are, that's fine. I'm gonna play around just a little bit more and get some moon glow in here. I'm just putting a little bit of very wet yellow in a circle shape around my moon. And I also want to put a little bit here where the moon is shining. You know what? You can have it blend down into those blues. Just kind of like that. Maybe we even put a little bit on our pumpkin over here where the moon might be shining on it. Now the left side is in shadow. This side here might have a little bit of a moon glow. Okay. And I think I'll call it a day. So I hope that you guys had fun with this. I still want to paint. I think I might like painting a little bit too much. There we go. Okay, so there we go. There's my finished painting. Okay guys, so I hope that you liked your little pumpkin drawing, the jack-o'-lantern. I know I had a lot of fun painting it. I hope I didn't get too carried away and it wasn't too complicated for you. Again, if yours doesn't look like mine, it's totally fine. You can get away with just having just some good old, you know, paint on the paper. It doesn't need to be all the highlights and the shadows and everything else that I put in. I tend to get carried away having fun when I'm painting. So anyway, I hope that you did too. I hope that you enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you've done. So have your mom send them to me, or if you can do that on your own, go ahead. And I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you next time, okay? Bye.